So we are with Tinevimbo Matambanazo, and Tinevimbo, we were talking about periods, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are now talking about endo. Just for a quick recap, what is endo and what are the signs?
So endometriosis is a condition
Right.
where tissue that is similar to the lining of your uterus grows outside of the uterus. It actually has a cousin condition called adenomyosis, which I have as well. Instead, what happens is that that tissue grows inside of the uterus. Same symptoms, but a bit different in terms of what it looks like.
Okay.
Its signs and symptoms are periods or pelvic pain that stop your normal activity, going to school, going to work, back pain, vomiting during periods, going to doctors with these issues and they say everything is normal, bloating, sort of swelling during your period, leg pain. It's just pain, pain, pain. Taking painkillers during your period and nothing changes. Those are definitely signs that you might have endometriosis.
And I think it's, one of the things that has popped into my mind is that when someone is going through pain, oftentimes we think it's very normal because we've normalized,
Pain
it's
is not
period
normal.
pain, and pain is not normal.
And
to your
something we
point.
say is it's not just a period. It could be endo, could be something else, not just a period.
So we were talking about also getting into, the conversation around your past relationship. You were married before, and we want to be respectful to the family,
Yeah.
but we also want to highlight some of the societal issues.
Yeah.
What were the issues when so first of all, did your husband marry you knowing that this was your condition?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
He did.
He was aware,
He
he was not aware of the gravity.
Yes, because we were not living together. So
Right.
for him, it was, okay, I'm in pain, but he hadn't lived it. It wasn't a lived experience.
Okay.
And then you get married and boom, I remember the first week of my marriage, I wanted to be superwoman, wake up, cook. It's unenge waudzwa kitchen tea kunzi varume vanotase vanobikirwa, you do this, you do this, you do this. I did it for a week and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think even for me it was like, okay, this is very real,
Yeah.
So there's a lot of pressure. There was a lot of pressure, actually.
And early in your marriage, there's always, naturally, there's pressure.
Yes.
But then now you're early in your marriage, and there's this societal pressure to be there, to be 100% woman to your husband. But half of that month, you're on your period. And half of that month, you're suffering this pain that is undescribable.
And something about endo is it's not just during your period. I have pain all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
So it's not associated with your period all the time.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you're going through all of these bouts of pain. And kuma family
extremities, but yeah.
Kuma family gatherings, people are seeing you.
Then you're like, you know what, I can't basadza andikwanise why msanongo kurwadza.
Yeah.
With your partner, munenge muchinzwisana kuti ashana asikuita zvechicken, but you can't do that, at a family gathering.
You can't.
And especially if muravarora wakawanda, now it's like, this one is a better one, that one is a better one.
Yeah.
Falling pregnant is another one. They expect you to be pregnant like this. You just cough and you're pregnant. And for a lot of people, that's what actually happens. But for women who have menstrual health conditions, it can be an absolute nightmare.
So are you able to have children or no? Is there infertility? What are you dealing with? Because I think sometimes we don't necessarily understand what the ramifications are. Yeah.
So I think we really have to talk about what infertility is.
Right.
Firstly, it means after, they say, between 3 to 6 months trying, without protection, they will say you have subfertility. Right. So you'll start by, taking certain hormonal treatments. And then if I think it's a year or so, then it means you are suffering from infertility.
Okay.
But they are options and they are treatments, but you need to be open to them.
Okay. And it's a conversation between you and your partner, and it's not just a sole conversation that you're having, which I think becomes the problem for so many relationships. Because in my head, in our traditional heads, uchangoita pamweri and uchatakura mwana wako and kana watakura mwana wako isusu tichapembera sana tete nana mai kuti muroora wedu ani auya nemwana, and it's not always going to be that way.
You might have a different story, and that you have to accept that your story might be different, and that's where the problem is, the acceptance.
So we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I just want to understand. So now, what are you exploring in your life? How are you moving on from this heartache, and what does the future look like for you? I'm with Tinevimbo Matambanazo, and we are talking everything that is endo. So please don't change that dial. We'll see you shortly. Welcome back to the EN Show with Tine. Tine, we were talking about, just the acceptance of a spouse or partner on the condition. But what is society? How did your external, because, we don't live in a vacuum, right? We live with people around us, relatives, friends. How was it? And have you been given support, or has it really been a mixed bag of emotions, and how have you dealt with that?
Definitely mixed. I think, with my family, they will always love me no matter what.
Right.
I would get it maybe from some of my family members where they meet you and they're like, how come you're not pregnant yet? And then definitely on your husband's side, they're asking the same thing. And I didn't know till I was in the situation that it was such a big deal.
Pregnancy.
Yes. I didn't know. I thought you have so many other things you're doing. Like, I am an activist. I was writing books. I was winning awards, but that became nothing. And for me, I really slipped into a bad depression. I lost sense of self. I literally just lost it. And right now it's been a journey of refinding myself, accepting that it may or may not happen, and that being okay. And so it really was bad. You start to feel like you're not worth it.
I think it starts at a very young age where we condition our young girls to say, you're going to get married, you're going to have a beautiful white wedding, and you're going to find Prince Charming, and you're going to have your little people, and you're going to have your little babies. And when the dream is shattered because of reality and because of conditions like endo, you then start having to rejig your life and say, okay, so what does this make? What does this mean?
And I always say to people that it is so heartbreaking to get your period every month.
Wow.
Because you're trying to get pregnant. And there were so many times where I would have maybe nausea. And I know nausea is part of endo, but I'm like, I think this time I'm pregnant, or maybe I'm a day late or so. And you take tests and there's only one line. And again, you start to self-hate, actually, self-loathe, because you are not able to do what so many other girls are able to do. They just cough and
they fall pregnant.
And for you, it's such a hassle.
And that must put a lot of pressure with your relationship, because there's also that pressure from your husband's side, probably saying, excuse me,
and what are you doing here?
What are you doing? What exactly?
What's your use?
What is your purpose as a wife, as a daughter, as all of these different roles that you carry? So leaving that relationship, and one thing you've been consistent, by the way, from this whole conversation is you've said to me, love is not pain. Love is not pain. And have you found love? Are you on the journey of finding love?
I definitely am.
I feel like this is a reality talk show, and we're like, oh, she's.
I really am. I think I was telling you that I even forgot myself, and I felt like no one's gonna love me anyway.
Wow.
So I never had options, and then once I got out of it, I realized that there are actually some sensible people out there. And it's been so refreshing to know someone and be with someone who sees you
for who you are.
For who you are, not just a mother or, a wife, just you. And it's when you are in it, you feel like you're never going to find someone who sees you. But one thing I can tell the ladies, it's possible. It might take some time.
Yeah.
It's possible. And I think it also starts with you as a person.
Yeah. Self-love.
Yeah.
Because didn't
I'm
you
definitely
have
on
to
that
love
journey.
yourself before
I'm
you
still
could?
healing.
Yeah.
I'm definitely on that journey. I'm still having to unlearn a lot of things that were done and said to me, and to understand that it's actually not okay. And I always tell people that a lot of women succumb to abuse when they're in such situations because they feel like they don't have an option.
Yeah.
And for me, it became a life or death situation.
Yeah.
And then I had to just say, you know what, Tine, this is not worth it. And we have to talk about the conversation about age. It's social media, our famous people who tweet about women being a certain age, men are not going to want you. We start to really believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're a certain age, you're over 30, you have endo or PCOS, fibroids, you're unmarried. I then entered into that season where someone asks you, how old are you? I'm 33. Do you have children? No. Why? You explain, oh, they're not talking to you anymore.
Wow.
We're talking about the real realities of dating.
Wow.
And that can also make it worse because you've just come out of something and then you start to realize the pressure of being a certain age and having reached certain milestones. But who's to say what you're supposed to be or do at a certain age?
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of pressure that women have to say it has to be me that has to perform. But I know that, with childbearing, it can either be either or.
Yeah, it could
but
be.
I think there is
the man.
It could be a man.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a lot of tolerance for men, and even from society. I think men are maybe even cushioned by society to say, and the conversation around men and fertility becomes very toxic on the male side because, my goodness, if it is me, then what does that mean?
And he's gonna get laughed at.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of pressure on that, and there's no support.
So you would rather not know.
It's sad, but men also need the support as well to say, how do I navigate? And one thing you've said that rang really true to me is there are several ways of being a mother.
Yes.
And so even exploring that journey, you have to be open to a certain extent.
Yes.
And are you now, is that your third, fourth, fifth, 10th stage in life to kind of say, I'm now okay, I want to now explore this. I'm mentally okay, I'm mentally well enough to be able to now say, what does that look like in the future? Because you're still young and you have your whole life in front of you.
Okay.
Yes. In God's name, in Jesus' name, you do have your whole life in front of you.
Yeah. There's so many options. I think again it starts with you.
Yeah.
And knowing that you actually have a choice. So it's something that I tell a lot of women, that you actually have options and you have a choice. But when you are in a toxic situation, you feel that you don't.
You have no choice. Yeah.
And so you have surrogacy, which is basically another woman carrying your child.
Yeah.
Infertility is caused by different things. It's your conditions like endo, your PCOS. Some women are producing eggs, but they are low quality eggs. Some women are not producing eggs at all. That was a situation that I was in. Some women produce eggs, but it doesn't reach, the sperm. There's so many reasons why.
Why?
And part of it is going to the doctor and understanding what's the issue, first of all. Is it endo? Is it a blocked tube? So that you know what your treatment options are.
Yeah.
And again, people would rather not know. Even for women, they would rather not go to the doctor because that means I'm not woman enough. But it starts there, sitting there and hearing the bad news. And then exploring the options. So like I said, surrogacy, adoption. There's so many children out there that are looking for homes. They have also what we call donor eggs. So for women who do not have good quality eggs, you can actually get an egg. And it can be fertilized with your husband's sperm and you have your baby, right? On the men's side, if it's an issue that he has, you can have your sperm treated. We'll just say treated, right? And you can also have a donation, the sperm donation. And one thing I always say to people is that it's between you and your partner. You can literally go and do these things. Nobody has to know you adopted, you did this, you did that, you did that. I know a few women who wear, that prosthetic thing. And for me, I'm like, because I like to live in my truth, I would rather just, be like, okay, I'm getting a surrogate or I'm adopting. But it's actually between you and your partner, whatever, you guys decide, and stick together, in that choice. But we do have options. We're just not open to them.
And I think society creeps into those options. And even if it's just the two of you, I don't know. I don't know about that. We're gonna pick up on that when we come back.
Okay.
But I think there's a certain pressure that I'll be like, "Sakamwano ya aswangu." Like there's that voice that will just be like to the guy. Aswangu. And I think it is how we are raised and how we're conditioned. You're watching the Ian Show. I'm with Tine, and we will be right back. Welcome back to the Ian Show. Tine, we were talking about a lot, but I think I really want us to start solutioning some of these things, some of these very important topics. So for someone who's going through, I think we spoke about the symptoms, but I think it's to say, how can we self-educate ourselves? And a call to action for institutions, doctors, etc. What experience would you want future people, future young girls to experience that will be a bit more comfortable than what you've experienced?
First of all, I think we need to normalize the conversations. Remove the titles. People know what I'm talking about, right? These are some of the barren woman, the infertile woman. Let's first remove those titles. Secondly, in terms of the medical space, women need access. So resources for the girl in a place where she cannot access the internet. What happens to her? Resources. Some of the work that I do now is we go Kuhopli, Kubudiriro, Kumbare, etc. And we actually have the conversation because she can't Google it, For those who have access, use your phones, guys. The information is there on TikTok, on Google, on Instagram. You'll be surprised how much content is available. I create content about it. It's not always popular. People have their opinions. Some people say you're attention seeking. Some people say you're just looking for a story, but this is actual real life. A lot of people say to me, we hardly see you posting, vibes. Unfortunately, my life is not always vibes. In fact, it's very little vibes. And let us make it okay, Realize that, like I said, this is real life. It's not a rehearsal. These are lived experiences. For me, my turning point, and we've spoken about it in one or two interviews, was that I did not want to live anymore. That's how bad it gets.
Wow.
And when I then stepped out of my situation was because I knew if I carry on like this, I'm going to die. You start to ask yourself, why me? I've got a younger brother. He's got a child. I'm older. So in terms of how I pictured my life, I thought I'm going to have children first. So I'm a tete and I love my nephew. But those are real emotions. Your friends get pregnant and you are deliberating whether you should go to the
baby shower
or not. And it's different. Sometimes you can and other times you can't. And that is real. I think we don't talk about it enough, where there's some jealousy there. There are some issues that, you can get triggered, And so it's about really owning your story, owning your feelings, and understanding that they are valid. And understanding what it can start to do to you as an individual. I know there's some women, and this is going to sound very weird, there are some women who actually become sexually reckless because they believe, I'm not going to have a child anywhere. There's so many different things that can start to happen when you are grieving. It's such a, you're grieving.
You are grieving. You are
You're
grieving.
mourning the life in your head that you thought you would have. And so for me, because I'm someone who's self-aware, I understood that there's something that I needed to do. And like I mentioned before, I'm still in that healing process.
Yeah. Is the work that you're doing a part of that healing process?
Oh, definitely.
Because I think sometimes when you're
Definitely.
healing, you have to feel like you're giving back.
And
you're
my purpose.
educating. Your purpose.
And I always say to people also, one of the reasons why I felt like I was dying was because my purpose no longer mattered.
Yeah.
So I could have taken out, there's a time I was taking care of some teenage moms, but it didn't matter because I was not the mother, and I needed to get to a space where I was back to enjoying what I do. A lot of people always say to me, I don't know why you cry about not being a mother. There are children who call me Mama Tine, you know, but because of how I've been conditioned, I'm like, no, they're not my children, but they are, you know. I have young girls who are like, Kuna Mama Tine. And so a lot of the work that I'm doing gives me purpose. And when I'm a bit sad, I then look at what I'm doing and I am reminded that it matters. I hosted a women's luncheon a few days ago for Endo women, and I always do these affirmation cards. And then I got a message, someone just said, thank you, you know. Thank you. Without you, Tiri Nerera, I'm like, oh my gosh, almost 200 women are counting on me. So purpose is also very important. Your why in life is also very important, because when you get to that point where you feel like you can't do it anymore, it's what's going to save you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And oh, that's such a big part of the healing process. But I really commend you. You know, well done.
Thank
I
you.
think you've seen so much, and you're sitting here and I am watching you talk about it, and I see a lot of strength in you.
Thank you.
But I also know that you're
It's
layered.
hard.
It's hard. It cannot be easy
Yeah, it's
to
hard.
sit and talk about this. But you know, Tine, thank you so much for being on the Ian Show.
Thank you for having me.
It has been an absolute honor and privilege. And please keep the fire going.
I will try.
And,
Definitely.
you know,
I
so
will try.
as we wrap up the segment, for someone who is watching, how can they support your, I want to say movement, because I think it is a movement.
Okay.
You're educating, you're supporting.
Yes.
How can you be supported for those who are watching?
Well, people can follow me on Instagram. I am Tinevimbo to get more information. I post every day.
Yeah.
Almost every day about these different issues. And there's so many layers to it.
Yeah.
We do have a support group. Over 200 women are getting supported with resources. We have a psychologist in there. When I have time, I do some talks as well. We have a doctor in there. At any given time, there are 200 women that are listening and understand what you're going through. So we have women with endo, PCOS, infertility, some who are still trying to figure out what's wrong.
Yeah.
And it's always great to be heard, understood, and have someone who says, me too. You know, our family members can try, but they don't know what it's like to cry yourself to sleep and all of that. And so that is available in our group. Again, they would have to contact me, and then they can find out how they can be supported. I've also written some books that talk a lot about this, my whole story. I even have a guide to endo, so mental health, what to eat, the treatment options, because it's such a layered, again, and broad thing, relationships, how to manage. Even for people who are caregivers, how do you help them and how do you support them? So there's a lot of information out there. We just need to be able to listen and to want to help and understand it is a global issue, because it's affecting 200 million women worldwide.
Wow.
So,
wow.
You know,
so we have to sit up and we have to do, and we have to take action.
And it's not just a woman's issue, it's a human issue.
Yeah.
Because we all come from periods.
Yeah.
So we have to care.
Yeah. And we need men to support us.
Yes.
And to start the conversation.
Yeah,
so.
they mustn't just say, oh, she's on a period. Yeah, no.
It may be
I'm in pain.
deeper.
I'm in a lot of pain. And just do your best, you know, and I think care. People need to start to care more and be more sensitive. Yeah.
It's been an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. And for those who are watching, please make sure that we start the conversations at home. And hey, we can actually educate ourselves and find solutions. You are watching the Ian Show, and we are sending love and light your way.